At the end of every unit, your teacher has a chance to teach a lesson about other lessons and their causes to enhance. But what do you suppose our teachers has to do? He skips the lesson and makes us present a digital LEQ. Q. Elocution needs historical evidence, reasoning that can corroborate and advance a complex thesis that Dr. John P. Irish would admire. Then we drop a screencast like a single that is fire. Student create a screencast for you to like, subscribe, and share. We know you all the John Green and Stephen Helmer you can bear. If we have the most views by 10 p.m. Eastern on the 5th day, we earn 500 bonus points, which virtually guarantees an A. Without much more fanfare or ado, we present our digital LEQ. Yeah. Our project was the comparison between the spread of epidemic diseases in the Americas during the 16th century versus the spread of epidemic diseases in Eurasia during the 14th century. I'm Naya.
I'm Lauren.
The big idea for this project is, how does understanding trade help compare the spread of epidemic diseases in Eurasia and the Americas? Make sure you think about that throughout the entire project.
Our thesis. The development of epidemic diseases in America and Eurasia was caused by trade. However, the Black Death disease in Eurasia was more severe than the diseases brought through the Columbian exchange in America. Therefore, in both areas, trade led to a lot of suffering and disease in population. Decrease in population.
First, we will talk about the spread of epidemic diseases in the Americas during the 16th century. So, America was a relatively disease-free environment before the 1600s. Then the Europeans brought many germs and viruses through the Columbian exchange, which led to many deaths and a huge decrease in populations. There were many epidemic diseases that spread from the Old World to the New World. Here are some primary sources. In the first picture, it shows how the Native Americans are dying off due to the new diseases coming to America. And based on this picture, I feel that the author's point of view was that the natives, they never experienced diseases before. So we can see the lady in the picture, she's like very distraught and she doesn't know what to do because this is the first time they ever experienced such a disease like this. At the top, you can see a picture that shows a book written by James Moore, where he describes the suffering and deaths caused by smallpox in the 16th century as a result of European colonization of the Americas. Smallpox was one of the most traumatic consequences of the Columbian exchange. Diseases brought to the Americas by Europeans after the Columbian exchange caused a population decline among Native Americans, which was the largest in human history. And here's a picture of John Winthrop, and he said, "For the natives, they are near all dead of smallpox, so as the Lord hath cleared out title to what we possess." So I feel like John Winthrop's point of view was that he saw firsthand of how the Native Americans were dying off because of smallpox. Some secondary sources. In the first picture, it shows diseases that came to America through the Columbian exchange. Those diseases include bubonic plague, diphtheria, malaria, measles, mumps, smallpox, typhus, and yellow fever. And the last one is a book that was written by Alfred W. Crosby in 1972. It was talking about how the Europeans came in with lots of infectious diseases such as smallpox. This disease infected Europe and most of the Old World in 1941. It took over in areas of the New World and killed a lot of natives. The people of the Indian empires were just killed by such diseases as smallpox, malaria, and all kinds of infectious diseases.
The spread of epidemic diseases in Eurasia during the 14th century. The biggest epidemic disease that affected Europe and Asia was the Black Death. It was when 12 ships from the Black Sea came to an Italian port from China due to trade. Most sailors on the ships were dead, and those still alive were ill and covered in black boils that dripped blood and pus. Italian authorities ordered the ships out of the harbor, but over the next 5 years, the Black Death would kill more than 20 million people in Europe, which was almost 1/3 of the continent's population. Our primary source. The first source you see here on the left is a painting titled The Triumph of Death by Peter Bruegel. It was inspired by the waves of the Black Death plaguing the 14th century. So the author's point of view was, from the picture you can see that he might have been witnessing this happen, and he could see how it affected everyone in Eurasia. The next image on the top is an image showing how people suffered from Black Death. If you look closely, you can see blood coming off the people and the boils all over their skin. This author's point of view was from the different doctors that saw all the patients coming in and how it affected them and their families and pretty much tore them apart. The last primary source is the illustration that Time shows skeletons rising from the dead, which is The Dance of Death from the Nuremberg Chronicle, published in 1493, written by Hartmann Segel and illustrated by Michael Wolgemuth. The author's point of view is taking this actual situation and showing it to please all audience in different ways. Yes. Okay. The first secondary source is a map that shows the Black Death spread through Eurasia in the 14th century. So, if you look closely at the map, you can see that each color represents a different year, and during the 14th century, it was all over the place. In the second secondary source, for the first source, the author's point of view was actually for both, they're very statistical point of views to show the outrageous numbers of death that the Black Death caused. So the second graph shows how the Black Death was the main cause of death in the 14th century.
The themes for our the themes for our project was theme 1, which is humans and the environment. We chose this theme because the spread of epidemic diseases shaped human societies because of the population change caused by a decrease of people in the Americas and Eurasia. We also chose theme 4, which is economic systems, because as societies developed, trade and migration increased, the spread of disease took over goods exchanged and produced.
Our conclusion. To answer our question in the beginning, we have a few different outcomes. The first answer would be, by knowing the trade, it helps to better understand where the disease came from and help to see how much it has spread over time. During trade, the second answer could be, during trade, routes taken for transportation affected the people, causing them to bring diseases to Eurasia and the Americas. Another answer could be, improvements in trading was necessary due to the trade bringing many infectious diseases.
This just shows our sources used for pictures and our information. And that's the end. Thank you.